you were a kid growing up, were you ever asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? What kind of answers did you give to that person? Was it being an astronaut, doctor, fireman, police officer? You know, standard stuff that all of us we want to strive to be, because those people get all the glory and notoriety and they have all the prestige. But what if you had a goal, a dream, at an early age to do something at that time pretty damn unusual, and to most people still today, it's still pretty unusual?
What makes you itch? What sort of a situation would you like? Let's suppose, I do this often in vocational guidance of students. They come to me and say, well, we're getting out of college and we haven't the faintest idea what we want to do. So I always ask the question, what would you like to do if money were no object? How would you really enjoy spending your life? Well, it's so amazing. As a result of our kind of educational system, crowds of students say, well, we'd like to be painters, we'd like to be poets, we'd like to be writers, but as everybody knows, you can't earn any money that way. Or another person says, well, I'd like to live an out-of-doors life.
Going into high school, I had all those usual dreams that a lot of boys had my age. I'm going to be a football player, I'm going to be a baseball player, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But then, around 9th grade, in a weird turn of events, I meet my best friend. And we both bonded over this thing, fishing. And because of that bond, I had this weird idea. And that was to make a living fishing. It's better to kind of define it as making a living in the fishing industry. But at that time, keep in mind, I was seeing guys like Kevin Van Dam on ESPN and FLW Outdoors, and I'd be honest, it looked pretty cool, and I wanted to do it.
Let's go through with it. What do you want to do? When we finally got down to something which the individual says he really wants to do, I will say to him, you do that. And forget the money. Because if you say that getting the money is the most important thing, you will spend your life completely wasting your time. You'll be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living, that is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid. Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way.
So now, one of the most craziest things happened as a kid growing up, and I grew up down in Monroe, not far from Dundee, Michigan. And Dundee got, at the time, the biggest Cabela's in the country. I was 16 by now, and I really wanted to work there. Hey, let's face it, I loved fishing. I wanted the discount, like most teenagers. I wanted to say, hey, I worked at Cabela's, and I got a discount. And, well, I got a job there. With my best friend, mind you. And it's interesting, because at that time, I really wanted to be one of those tournament guys that you see on TV that's cashing giant, Happy Gilmore checks on stage.
Therefore, it's so important to consider this question. What do I desire?
The amazing part of that job is that it helped me see that there's other things in the fishing industry that you could do for a living. You could make your living doing those things and be in the sport in some shape or fashion. Now, it may not be, a guy in the front casting deck on ESPN hoisting that giant classic trophy, but there's plenty of things that you could do in this industry. One of those things that stuck out to me at that age, like 16, 18, 20 something, was thanks to a guy that we in the department affectionately called Johnny Shimano. John, or Johnny as we called him all the time, was our Shimano sales rep. And his job was to educate us on Shimano, the features, the what's new, and all that good jazz, all their marketing terminology like ARB bearing and propulsion line management and yada yada yada, But for some reason, it resonated with me. I never really knew why until a few years later, but I always said it would be cool to have his job. It'd be cool to have Johnny Shimano's job. Now, part of that is probably because he got Stella's at a dirt cheap price because of his job, and he got to fish with some really cool gear, and I wanted that cool gear. So maybe that's what it was.
Well, when we answer that question in a naive way, we figure out that we want a desire, what we want is to control everything. To create girls that don't grow old, apples that don't rot, clothes that never wear out, conveyances that get from one place to another instantly so we don't have to wait, power available to do anything that you could conceive and do it just instantly like that. To get this funny technological omnipotence. But if you take time out to think about that, and really go into it with your full strength of imagination, and find out whether that's where you want to be, you will soon see that's not what you want.
Like many of us, I spent most of my 20s trying to figure out what the hell I'm going to do in life. I had some good times. I had some not so good times. 08, that's a memorable year. Broke my back. But 08 was also a start to me figuring out the rest of my life and achieving that teenage boy's dream of working in the fishing industry and earning my living doing it. I tried my hands at a few things. Guiding, wasn't bad at it. Figured out pretty quickly though, probably not the way I'm going to make my living doing it. I don't think I had the temperament for it. For you charter captains and guides out there, hats off to you. You know what I'm getting at. I did some blogging. This is before YouTube was really a thing. Kind of wish I would have jumped on that train now, hindsight, 2020, but hey, whatever, we're here now. But yeah, I did some outdoor writing, worked for a map company, which was my first big taste of being a sales rep or in that field. Enjoyed it. Like I was saying, 08, I had a pretty traumatic event where I broke my back. I was out on my own and I struggled to kind of put shit together, and yeah, but eventually I found my way. I met my beautiful wife, who without her I probably wouldn't be where I'm at right now. She has been absolutely incredibly tolerant of this job and this lifestyle. It does take me from home often. For those of you that get to go home every night to your home, your family, pets, you are lucky. But I don't say that for you to pity me, because I chose this. I knew it was part of it. And honestly, I do like it. I do miss out on things. But I really love what I do now as a sales rep.
You want a surprise. And you don't know what that's going to be, because obviously it wouldn't be a surprise if you did. You want a pleasant surprise. But like you say, what sort of a surprise would be pleasant? And you can't really answer that. Because you know, if there are to be such things as pleasant surprises, there must also be unpleasant surprises. There must be rude shocks. So you're like somebody taking one of those wishing well boxes, tubs, where you fish in and you bring out a package. And you don't know whether you've got a dead rat in it or a new camera. And that's the way, that seems to be the thing that really excites people.
Now, during the holidays this season, a couple things happened. And I got to be alone to myself through the holidays, in my own head. And I'm getting pretty sick. Sucky little bug that's been going around. It took me like 4 weeks to get rid of it. But I worked through it. I got through it. But during that time, I was up, I think it was like midnight, 1 o'clock, I don't know. Couldn't go to sleep. And I had this thought. Holy shit. I achieved that dream I had as a teenager of making a living in the fishing industry. And I was like excited for like a split second. And I was like, this is awesome. And then out of nowhere, this intense wave of fear, dread, worry came over me going, now what? You did that thing, that huge dream that seemed like almost impossible, but maybe if you got there one day, it'd be pretty freaking cool. And I like the last 5-6 years, I literally have achieved that dream, and I didn't even realize it. And then suddenly I realized it, and I didn't even enjoy it. But then yet I enjoyed every minute of it. I don't know if you can follow that, but if you do, cool. Give me a thumbs up, I guess. But it took me several weeks to get rid of that dread, that worry, the anxiety of what's next? What do I do? And I am still trying to answer that question. But the anxiety, the angst, that worry is gone. And quite honestly, it's because of one word that comes to mind. Now, over the holidays, if you are from this area and you watch some of the local YouTubers, Brian Barczyk's. Brian battled pancreatic cancer pretty much all this year, and he vlogged every single day and fulfilled his dream of, having snakes and reptiles and educating people on it and introducing people to it. He had that. He has that, I should say. He has this. He still has this. And the dream got bigger and bigger, and it got grander and grander, and it snowballed, and it consumed every bit of his family's life. And right around Christmas, New Year's, I think it was around little. He made it through Christmas, I believe. I might be getting some dates mixed up here, but he passed away. And right at the end there, he started a very large project. It's an aquarium and reptile zoo in Utica, across from the Reptarium, which was really my introduction to him through the King of DIY, Joey up in Canada, the Aquarius guy. They were friends, and I just was watching Joey's video, came across Brian, and Brian just had this infectious, I love teaching people about reptiles. Kind of similar to me when I talk to people about fishing. If you ever talk to me in the store on my good days when I'm having fun doing the job, it's obvious I love what I do, and I love being part of the industry. And Brian did that as well. And they were trying to name this aquarium and reptile zoo They had a bunch of different names, and what he came up with was legacy. Now, he spelled legacy Legasea. So, legs and sea, or something like, you think it was like leg and sea. So you got reptiles, lizards and stuff, snakes, and sea creatures, fish and stuff like that. So, but it's also a play on words that, because he knew he was not going to make it. So he wanted to leave behind a legacy for his family and for the people that viewed his YouTube channel. And that singular word, legacy, is a very powerful one. And one thing that I figured out recently is that a legacy is not necessarily something huge that affects millions of people. Maybe that legacy is the one you leave for your family. Maybe you had a pretty rough upbringing, and it just was a cycle that your family kept going through, and your legacy is that you broke that. You got your family out of that cycle, so the next generation can do other things and just go for dreams. Maybe just go for dreams. You just started making the right choices to succeed in the everyday life, and that's your legacy. You showed your family how to do that. You didn't do some grand thing or become, the greatest of all time at something. You just were a great human that showed your family the way. Maybe that's your legacy. So I'm left right now with that word. And going forward, I think everything I do on this channel and everything I do in my personal and professional life is going to be about that word. Not sure how big my legacy will be. Hopefully it's pretty huge to my family, because honestly, that's what matters first, is that my legacy makes them proud. Second, hopefully you guys enjoy what this channel will become. I have no idea what that is or how long I will keep doing it. Who knows what the future holds in that terms. But my focus the rest of my life will be on the legacy that I leave behind. Watching Brian go through that was something else. And I think for men in particular, legacy is an important thing. And we don't have that drive, that direction for a legacy, we lose ourselves. So hopefully I can be a good example of that moving forward for you guys. Hopefully the legacy I leave is going to be a positive one. So with that, I guess let's raise a glass to legacy, and let's get on with it.